Okay, so for this deep dive, we're going to be looking at Onyx Storm. And if you've been following along with us, this is the third book in Rebecca Yarros' Empyrean series.
Right.
And so much happened at the end of Iron Flame that I really think it's good for us to kind of take a moment and unpack some of the
Oh, yeah.
some of the major plot points and, just the significance of everything that happened in this book, because
Well, yeah, because it ends
on a cliffhanger, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. So, so we're gonna be talking about this book as if you've read it.
Yes.
Just as a reminder.
Absolutely.
And we're gonna try to sort of like give you some key takeaways and maybe some things to think about as you're reading.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
we're picking up right where we left off.
Yes.
And the world of Navarre is on the brink of war with the venin. And the venin are these ancient magic wielders, and they're pretty formidable enemies.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they're bad news. Yeah, and they're bad news, and we see that play out in this book. And
time.
And then of course at the end of the last book, our hero, Xaden, becomes venin himself, which is a huge problem for Violet, or
Right, and their relationship, and for his own well-being.
Right.
Because we're not really sure what that means for him.
Right.
Okay.
And on top of all of that, the wards, which are like the magical protection around the continent, are failing. So they have a lot on their plate.
They do. They have a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
A lot to deal with.
Yeah. So the book opens right where we left off, with Violet and Xaden at Basgiath War College. And he is, he's basically like comatose.
Yeah, he's not doing well.
He's not doing
in a bad way.
Yeah, and Violet is obviously devastated by this. But she's determined to find a cure.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's not giving up.
And that's really...
She's a very strong character.
She is.
We see that through all three books.
She's a very strong character, and she's very determined. And yeah, she's not giving up on Xaden.
No.
So because the wards are failing, they realize that they're going to need to get some help.
Right.
And Violet knows that they can't just rely on Navarre anymore. So they start trying to form alliances with other kingdoms and other groups of people. And
some of those are a little bit shaky, right? Those alliances?
Right. Well, the first one that we see is with Viscount Tecarus of Poromil.
Yeah.
And he's not
exactly the most trustworthy guy.
No, he's not someone that you necessarily want to get in bed with, so to speak. But they need his help because he has this huge library.
Right.
And
he's got information that they need.
He has information that they need, and they need his griffin flyers to help them fight the venin.
Right.
So so Violet makes this deal with him where she offers him protection within the wards in exchange for access to his library and
the use of his flyers, right?
Yeah. And the use of his flyers.
Which is very smart of her.
Very savvy, very strategic. Yeah. And her sister Mira, she comes in and she has this information about tempering runes, which are basically these magical devices that can help people channel their magic more effectively.
Right.
And this is important because the flyers from Poromil, they can't actually use their magic very well within the wards because it's a different kind of magic.
Right. It's a clash.
Yeah.
Right. They're not compatible.
Yeah. So Mira bringing this information about the tempering runes
saves the day.
Yeah, it really does. It helps to kind of smooth things over and solidify that alliance.
Which is good because they need all the help they can get at this point.
They do.
Right.
And then we have this really big reveal about Andarna, Violet's dragon, and
her little baby dragon.
Her little baby dragon, who we love.
We love Andarna.
And it turns out that Andarna is actually a 7th breed of dragon, which is something that no one knew existed before. And
it's a huge deal.
It's a huge deal. Yeah. And her magic is essential for powering the wardstone in Orisha.
Exactly, which is the heart of the wards, right?
The heart of the wards.
So she's super important.
So now Andarna has gone from being, this cute little sidekick to being like the key to their survival.
Yeah, the most important being in the world, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what else happens?
So they go to Deverelli to try to get King Cortland on their side. And this is a little bit awkward because Prince Haldan is there.
Yeah.
And he and Violet have a history.
It's a little bit.
It's a little messy.
Oh, a little messy.
Yeah. But Xaden actually ends up being the one who really seals the deal.
Right.
Because he shows off his venin powers.
He does, and it's a little scary, but it's also very effective.
It's very effective, yeah.
Yeah.
Then they travel to a few other places. They go to the Isle of Sonorum, where Violet learns from a priestess that she was almost pledged to a goddess when she was a baby, which is kind of a weird...
It's a little foreshadowing, right?
Yeah, like, what does that mean?
Yeah, but who knows what that's going to mean down the line.
Right. Okay. And then they go to Hedotus, where they meet Xadian's mother, Talia.
Yes.
Which is a very emotional reunion.
Very emotional, yeah.
Yeah. And the squad faces a bunch of trials there. Garrett gets poisoned.
Yeah.
And then they go to the island of Zelina, where they lose Tragan.
Yes, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, and that was really sad.
Very sad.
Yeah. And then all throughout this whole, quest for allies and, dealing with all these losses and betrayals.
Right.
Violet's also doing all this research, and she's trying to figure out more about the venin. Yeah, she's trying to figure out more about her own family's past.
And those two things kind of start to intertwine a little bit.
Yeah, they do. They totally do. And she finds out that her father's work was connected to the origins of the venin.
Right, which is
kind of
a big deal.
Yeah.
And then she also finds out that her parents dedicated her to the goddess Dun when she was a baby, and
to protect her
from venin magic. And that this was all tied to a prophecy that they thought was about her.
Right.
But it turns out it's actually about Xaden.
Yeah. And this prophecy is a whole other thing.
Yeah, we could do a whole deep dive on just the prophecy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then we also learned that Violet has a second signet.
Yes.
Which is dreamwalking.
Which is pretty cool.
Which is very cool.
Yeah.
And it turns out that other holders of the rebellion relics also have second signets. So that's something to think about for the future.
Right. Who knows what that means?
Right. Who knows what that means?
Yeah.
So then everything kind of comes to a head.
When they face off against this really powerful venin named Theophany.
Yes.
Who is a storm wielder, just like Violet's mother.
Right. It's an epic battle.
And
there's a lot of loss.
They lose Quinn.
Yeah.
Which is...
I cry.
Yeah, it was really sad.
Yeah.
And Darna actually comes back, and she uses a piece of Dun's temple to defeat Theophany.
Yes.
But right after that...
Right.
The Onyx Storm descends.
Yes.
Which is a sign that Xaden is channeling venin magic again.
Which we thought he wasn't going to do, but he is.
Yeah. So then we get this really crazy ending where we're seeing everything from Xaden's perspective, and he's explaining why he chose to embrace the venin magic, and it's all to save Violet and to save Gale.
Yeah, he's doing it for love.
Yeah, he's doing it for love.
Which is a little misguided, maybe.
It's a very gray area, right?
Yeah.
It's like...
Is it the right thing to do? Is it the wrong thing to do? We don't know.
We don't know. And he says... Violet tells him that she loves him.
Yeah.
And then he discovers that Commandant Panchek has betrayed them.
Oh, yeah.
And that one of his closest friends, Liam, has succumbed to the venin.
Yes.
So it's just like blow after blow.
It's a lot, yeah.
And then Violet wakes up 12 hours later
in
Arisha, married to Xaden. And she's the Duchess of Tyrrendor.
And she doesn't remember anything.
After
asking Imogen to basically erase her memory. So it's a lot. The process, yeah.
So basically this book is about...
the war with the venin. It's about Xaden's transformation.
Right.
It's about the political alliances and the betrayals. And it's about Violet's journey of discovery, both about herself and about
the world around her.
Right.
Yeah. So some of the key themes that we see in this book are sacrifice.
Yes.
Love, leadership, trust, and betrayal, resilience and perseverance, and then the symbolism of the Onyx Storm and the importance of dragons, and their society.
Dragons are always important.
Yeah, they are. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have,
and I know it's a lot to take in.
It's a lot.
But hopefully this deep dive has given you a good overview of what happens in Onyx Storm and
some things to think about.
Yeah. So as you're reading, or if you've already read it, think about the implications of Violet's memory loss.
Right.
How is that going to affect her relationship with Elmore?
And is he going to tell her what happened?
Right. Is he going to tell her what happened?
Because that's a big thing to keep from somebody?
It is.
Yeah.
And how is this going to affect their fight against the venin? And what about this prophecy that's now linked to Xaden? how is that going to play out in the future?
That's a big question mark.
Yeah, it's a lot of questions, but
that's what makes it fun.
Right? That's what makes it fun. That's what keeps us coming back.
Yeah, keeps us on the edge of our seats.
Yeah, so the threads of sacrifice and love and destiny, they're all intertwined in this book. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they all play out in the next installment.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
See you later.